Likely said President Clinton's impeachment trial. Good evening, I'm Trina Robinson, in tonight for Dawn Stenslin.
And I'm Larry Kane. Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock begins right now.
Live from Independence Mall, KYW3 Eyewitness News.
Well, our top story in Eyewitness News at 6, a bad night forcing some people to put their plans on ice. For real. From snow to ice to freezing rain, another winter storm is causing us that aggravation sensation tonight. For many of us, ice has been the major obstacle all day long. Eyewitness News in Cherry Hill, where salt trucks were pretty busy out in full force. And it wasn't just the roads causing problems. People were also out putting salt on the sidewalks. In Montgomery County, it was the old-fashioned approach to treating slick walkways, one scoop at a time. But the slippery conditions couldn't stop Arthur Mills and his grandson from taking a wintry walk. The boy is one of many children who enjoyed a day off from school today.
Well, while many kids stayed home to play, lucky them, their parents and other adults spent the day trying to cope with this icy weather. Eyewitness News reporter Robin Taylor is live in Doylestown, Bucks County with more. Robin.
Well, Trina, it's been cold and wet out here all day, and people are just trying their best to cope. Right now, the roads are in pretty good condition. There's some slush on them. They are wet. It is winter weather driving, but it's not too bad for winter weather driving. The sidewalks, though, they're a little bit slipperier than the roads are because they haven't been treated with as much salt. First, there was the ice, then little pellets of snow. The precip-coated sidewalks here in Bucks County making for some slippery conditions. That's why Dave Walker got out the shovel to try to get a jump on it.
Well, the people walking on it mashes it down and makes it slipperier, so trying to get it up before too many people walk on it.
Driving in this kind of weather can be tricky. That's why Harry Mawson relies on his secret weapon. It's a bottle of instant windshield de-icer.
And I also spray it on my windshield wipers. And it melts the ice on the windshield wipers.
Because that can really be a problem, right?
Yeah, because when it starts going back and forth, then you can't see.
In these cold, wet conditions, most people would rather be indoors. But there are those who make money shoveling, and they welcome the storm.
No, actually, I love it. I love the cold, so it's great for me.
The big fear right now is freezing rain. That could make these conditions deteriorate very quickly. PennDOT has been out all day. They plan to be out all night. They're trying to stay one step ahead of this storm. In Doylestown, Robin Taylor, KYW3 Eyewitness News.
So how long will this storm be affecting us?
Well, Dave Frankel has the answer. He's in the KYW Storm Center right now with the very latest. Dave?
Well, guys, unfortunately, it's going to be around for the evening hours. Looks like until about midnight before we see some relief. Let's show you where the warnings and advisories are in effect right now. In the northern part of the viewing area, winter storm warnings. Philadelphia south and east, it's a winter weather advisory, and this is why. Watch over the past 6 hours as the system continues to make its way in. We're starting to see some slow warming, and you can see at the bottom part of New Jersey and Delaware, they're seeing rain there, but Philadelphia, even Wilmington, icy conditions all the way up into Berks County, and then as you get up into the Lehigh Valley and the Poconos, it is snow. The warm air slow to move up. Slow to move into the region, and it looks like it will be probably midnight before we reach the freezing mark in Philadelphia, and then this will change over to rain. We still have a lot of rain left after that, so that could cause some flooding problems. We'll have more on that in the 5-day in just a couple of minutes. Trina?
From one problem to another. Thanks, Dave. More than 700 schools across the area were closed today because of this nasty weather. And if you're worried about tomorrow, there's an easy way to check on your district in the morning. Just log on to the Eyewitness News website at KYW.com and click on the snowman. And stay with us for the latest on this winter storm. We'll have complete coverage tonight on Eyewitness News at 11.
Now on to our other major story of the day, an historic moment again on Capitol Hill. Prosecutors from the House of Representatives began laying out their case today at the Senate impeachment trial of President Clinton. Eyewitness News reporter Ren Scott is live in the nation's capital with more. Ren?
Larry, as you can see down here in Washington, D.C., the weather is also wet and miserable, but it has done nothing to slow down this historic trial, and it has done nothing to dampen the controversy about potential witnesses.
With your permission, we, the managers of the House, are here to set forth the evidence in support of 2 articles of impeachment against President William Jefferson Clinton.
In his opening statement, Chief House Prosecutor Henry Hyde said this trial is about more than just the presidency, but about the oath that every public official takes.
Members of the Senate, what you do over the next few weeks will forever affect the meaning of those two words, I do.
Then, one by one, other House prosecutors carefully reviewed all the specifics of this case that we have heard so many times before, always returning to the potential dangers of allowing any public official to lie under oath.
Your decision in this proceeding will answer these questions and set the standard of conduct of public officials in town halls and courtrooms everywhere and the Oval Office for generations.
But outside of these proceedings, Republicans and Democrats are still debating whether witnesses should be called and whether the president himself could be forced to testify.
In the first instance, I think he has to make up his own mind. Then the Senate might invite him. And if he becomes indispensable in the view of the Senate, I think compulsory process is in order.
If the president wanted to testify, that is certainly his right. Like every other American, should he choose not to do so, that should also be his right.
Now, as for the president, he spent much of the day in Alexandria, Virginia, giving a speech on community policing, and as far as we know, has not said anything publicly about this trial, at least today. Now, a spokesman at the White House says the White House is strongly against the idea of the president testifying in person because he said it would cause extraordinary delays in this trial, but he did not say whether the president might resist a subpoena. We're going to hear an awful lot more about this issue before this trial is over. For now, that's the latest live in Washington, D.C. I'm Ren Scott, KYW3 Eyewitness News.
As you have for the last year, stay with KYW3 for more on the president's crisis and the president on trial. Dan Rather will have a special one-hour edition of the CBS Evening News at 6:30. And, of course, we'll have our usual complete wrap-up tonight at 11 o'clock.
Up next, Philadelphia's police commissioner responds to an Eyewitness News exclusive report.
Plus, the jury begins deliberating the fate of Thomas Capano. We've got the very latest.
And can you believe it? A vacuum cleaner that can see dirt even when you can't. That and other new gadgets next.
How could the most glamorous stars in Hollywood be so square?
I've been to a lot of Hollywood parties in my day, but the squares, baby, is where it's at.
They're on Hollywood Squares.
Frankfurt, Germany was named after Hermann Frankfurt, a famous wiener maker.
Don't say it! Catch Stephen Baldwin, Billy Baldwin, Kristen Johnston, and Cindy Crawford. There's a laugh in every single square on Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares, tonight at 7:30.
At Pennsylvania American Water Company, we never forget that water is precious and that making it flow is our responsibility. Every day we work to protect and improve the one thing none of us can live without. We monitor, test, purify, test again. From the hydrant to the tap, our obligation is to you. Operating treatment facilities, keeping your costs low, pouring on the service. At Pennsylvania American Water, our commitment is crystal clear.
In the time it takes to make the Tuesday night special, you could have had a real meal. Parmesan herb oven roasted chicken, 30 minutes. Just add your own meat and put these real green giant vegetables and seasonings in there. Listen, you gotta make something. Why not make something you really want? Create a meal. It's time for a real meal.
Why'd you buy from Chapman Ford?
If I want to make $1, I gotta smile, no matter how sore my feet are. So I wanted a dealer who would make that dollar stand up and be counted.
Hard-working deal. It's going on now. Chapman's year-end markdown sale. Sample our everyday low markdown pricing with a new 99 Taurus.
Prussia, Pennsylvania has seen its fair share of snow, sleet, and freezing rain today as this winter storm continues to trek across the Northeast. These are live pictures from the Philadelphia suburb. We'll have a live report with Jeff Morrow in just a minute. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Weather Center. I'm Janetta Jones, live in the Forecast Center here at the Weather Channel. We are tracking that winter storm. We will have a look at how it's going to affect your rush hour commute in just a moment. Let's see what is happening right now. We have a lot of snow, we have a lot of ice, and a lot of folks dealing with some very, very cold temperatures across the Northeast corridor. The moisture is riding up out of the Gulf of Mexico, and so is the warm air, and that's going to make life really interesting overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, as some locations right along the coast may change over to an all-rain event. That remains to be seen. We are still going to talk about a major ice storm for some locations and a major snowstorm for other locations, as some of this you are seeing on this radar is in the form of heavy snow and has been for quite some time. We go now to a suburb of Philadelphia, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Jeff Morrow is standing by there. Jeff, you've been telling us about what the conditions have been like all afternoon. Have they changed at all?
Yeah, they have changed a little bit, Janetta. Actually, we're starting to get some heavier sleet, which has moved in the last half hour or so. I'll step out of the way here and we'll pan up and show you one of the lights over the interchange here, the toll booth from the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And as we look up into the lights, you can see the sleet getting blown sideways here, maybe mixing in with a little bit of snow, but it's mostly ice pellets that you're looking at there. And that is starting to accumulate a little bit more on the ground and, of course, on the road surfaces. As I look down on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which is below me here, we are getting a little bit more in the way of some slush on those road surfaces, and it could be getting a little bit icy. A gentleman from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation a little bit earlier was telling me that once you get below about 25 to 23 degrees, the salt on the highways doesn't work so well anymore, and you can start getting some ice buildup. We're at 20 here right now, so there's a possibility of some more icing. Be careful out there. If you are out tonight, probably the best advice is stay off the roadway, stay home, and wait till tomorrow morning when we expect things to change over to all rain and maybe clear some of this up. Back to you, Janetta.
All right, thanks so much. Jeff Morrow reporting live from King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. I'm joined now by our winter weather specialist, Paul Cozen. He's been tracking this storm, and Paul, this has been quite a complicated weather system to look at.
Yeah, it's extremely complicated, lots of different factors. There has been one constant, and that's high pressure across eastern Canada. It reached its peak this morning. It's still very strong. It's retreating a little bit, but it still has a tremendous influence over the weather across the northeast United States.
A lot of cold air.
A tremendous amount of cold air. And temperatures still sub-zero across portions of Maine and into New York where snow is falling. And here's what's going on. We can see that the cold air continues to flow down basically from New England down towards Philadelphia and into Virginia. And even now has reached as far south as North Carolina, and where it's just passed through Raleigh-Durham. The 32-degree line, on the other hand, has passed north of Atlantic City, still west of Philadelphia, but it's also it's east of Philadelphia, excuse me. It's also east of Baltimore, east of Washington, and it's moved considerably far south. It's moved all the way down to Lynchburg, Virginia. And then it comes back up towards the Pittsburgh region, and then it's been coming down again. And with two separate weather systems influencing the weather, to the north we have snow that's falling across much of New York and New England, and some of that is quite heavy, accompanied by exceptionally cold temperatures. And we're seeing freezing rain and sleet covering much of Pennsylvania with a mix of a little snow into the New York area. And we're also seeing an outbreak of precipitation in frozen form across Ohio and some light snow into Indiana. Rain is falling through much of the Appalachians, and it's that rain system that we'll be looking forward to move to the northeast to help spawn low pressure that will be developing overnight over the Carolinas that will be moving up along the eastern seaboard tomorrow.
Okay, and as we check out what's happening on the current radar, we can show you that more moisture is working its way northward out of the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, yeah, we're seeing initially that first situation across the northeastern United States, the precipitation over the northeast is associated with that initial impulse that we've been watching all day. But what we're really interested at this point is that we're watching the evolution of this new area of precipitation across the Ohio Valley. That's the area that should form into a little more, well, a more significant storm that's going to be associated with a wide potpourri of weather later tonight.
Okay, it's going to get really, really interesting later tonight. Into the northeast we take you. Boston has been seeing some snow. Albany has gotten heavy snow throughout the day today. Philadelphia, a mix, as you well know. New York City, a mix too. A lot of cold temperatures. 11 in Detroit, 7 below in Burlington. Factor in the wind, it feels like 26 below in Rochester. We are anticipating about 3 to 6 inches of snow. This is just through midnight. We may get more before morning. And as far as tomorrow morning goes, rain in some of the cities?
Rain in some of the cities, although I'm just looking at current information, and in the Washington, D.C. area, just to their west, temperatures continue to fall. So cold air is moving down from just west of Washington to Lynchburg. So the major cities definitely starting out as a mixture of rain and freezing rain, sleet, all the way up into New York. They may change to rain later tonight, but still a significant period of icing. A lot of icing in the interior of New York and New England, and heavy snow across portions of northern PA, New York, and New England.
All right, thank you so much, Paul.
Sounds like you have a pretty